not ready to do yet.
Good morning and welcome to episode 51, Injuries and Apathies of the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. A little different today. Last week was a little bit crazy, the election, and then I had senior night for my dance team on Friday. So here we are, Monday morning. I worked till 1:30 a.m. last night, so I'm a little tired. I got my breakfast and coffee in front of me, so if you see me eating bagel while Kylan's talking, no, you didn't. But we are excited. We're going to hit all the games. We're going to hit everything. We're going to kind of do a two-for episode. We're going to try and kind of hit everything that we would want to hit for this week, and we will be back on a regular schedule next week.
Hopefully.
So, Kylan, what's up? How was your week and a half? How have you been?
I'm good. It was pretty chill. Like I told you, I think a few weeks ago, I'm still chasing some things down for this. Ironically, this Voting Rights Act piece that they had me doing for the Trib. So that's due on Friday. So pray for me for that. One of them is done though. The long form pieces, Morgan and I's favorite word. For those of you that aren't in writing or you don't write, whether that's be in broadcasting or anything, long form pieces are usually stuff that if you're a broadcaster, 5+ minute piece. If you're a writer, 1,200 or more words. So that's what I'm doing. Three different pieces for the Philly Tribune on the Voting Rights Act. Ironic enough, getting ready to turn 60 years old with this new administration coming in. Will we have that anymore? We'll see. This act turns 60 years old next year. Next June, signed by LBJ. Morgan and I weren't alive for it, but I'm doing a little deep dive on it now, on the perspective, how Black people organized before it, after it, during it, in the 70s and 80s in northern cities. So look for a very comprehensive 3 pieces from me. I obviously just did the barbershop run last week. Those of you may have seen that article on the NAACP and a couple other organizations get together at West Philly Barbershop. Bless you, to get the vote out. So yeah, I've been busy now that the election's over, and maybe a little bit lighter stuff now. Obviously I'm still doing that Sixers Eagles run. They both won last night. Great for me on that side. But outside of that, just chilling. Trying to think of some things out now, but we'll see how it goes. Take your time, y'all. For those of you that are depressed or sad or whatever about this election, one way or the other, take some time, go to therapy, do what you need to do. Enjoy the last vestige of a sane administration that we have right now to January 20th. Bye before the tariffs come, I guess. Morgan?
Yeah. I haven't been doing much. I did sideline for Sacred Heart on Saturday. It was my last football game of the season, so
okay.
It was freezing. Definitely feeling like basketball and hockey weather. So excited for that. Went to UConn's opening game. Saw them drop the banner. They played against Sacred Heart, which was so cool. See both my teams there in action. Sacred Heart actually held their own for a little while. They have a pretty good team this year. I think they'll be great in the MAAC. But not much. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's get right into it. Make sure that you give us a follow on our our Twitters, our X's, whatever you want to call them. I'm at M_India_Miller. Kylan is at Kylan W. Watson. Give us a follow and join us along in the conversation. So here we go. So the NFL deadline, the trade deadline happened, and we couldn't have been more wrong. Nothing really happened. It was quite, I don't know. I just felt like there wasn't a lot of big trades, and we expected that the Lions would trade for a big time pass rusher, and they didn't, which, is fine, I guess. Like they don't really seem to need it. We've watched them kind of be dominant through the past couple of weeks. I know yesterday's game was not great, but I think it was more the offense that struggled than the defense. The defense forced some turnovers on their end without having Aiden Hutchinson there. Kylan and I talked before we got on. Marshawn Lattimore was kind of the big, I guess, trade news. But again, not big, not like a crazy, there wasn't anything like, I feel like in years past, we've seen a quarterback get traded. We've seen some big time running backs get traded. We didn't really see any of that this year. We kind of just saw people. What's interesting is that the good teams are really good and the bad teams are really bad. And I just feel like neither team is willing to do anything to change it. The good teams don't need anything. The bad teams are so bad that they're like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, sorry, I had some technical difficulties there. But yeah, I'm of the mindset that Marshawn Lattimore was the biggest fish out there. Him and Preston Smith, I think, both wound up. One went to the Steelers. One went to where did Preston Smith go? He went to the Steelers, right? Somebody went to the Steelers. He might have gone to somebody went to the Lions. Anyway, the Lions got a pass rusher, as we said they would. Preston Smith went to the Steelers, I believe. Only reason I know that is because I watched the game and saw him sack Jaden Daniels. So what we like we said, the teams on that middle tier, they made some moves, right? Marshawn Lattimore is now with the Commanders instead of the Saints. Preston Smith has gone from the Packers to the Steelers. Those kind of middling teams, right? The Packers, the Lions are really meddling after what they did last night, and we'll get to that soon. But that's what I mean, like the teams that are like up and coming, or like teams that like obviously the Eagles and the 49ers are like the upper tier of the NFC, and then you have like the Chiefs and the Ravens as the upper tier of the AFC, and then everybody else is like middling outside of that. So like that's what I mean, right? No disrespect to Lions fans. Obviously the Lions are a good team, but they just don't have the recent Super Bowl successes of the 49ers and Eagles. And what I mean by that, with all due disrespect to the 49ers fans, is Eagles won one and have been the one recently, and they both lost to the Chiefs. But you know what I mean as far as recent success, as far as Super Bowls. No disrespect to the Lions fans. All due disrespect to the 49ers fans, though. But, I'm of the mindset that this Marshawn Lattimore move is big for the Commanders, just because, like, you're not going to find a shutdown corner. Most teams, as we know, either draft one or they trade, as what happened with L'Jarius Sneed. He probably wants to be back in Kansas City if he could do that all over again. I'm of the mindset that most teams don't really trade shutdown corners. So when one is available, you go and get one. Now, I don't know what's left of Marshawn Lattimore's hamstring, if he'll make a difference, especially now in this two-team race between the Eagles and the Commanders for NFC East supremacy. But I mean, he should do. He couldn't do any worse than what they currently have at cornerback, as we all saw. Russell Wilson looked like he turned the clock back 10 years yesterday against the Commanders. Like, of course he threw some interceptions, but I mean, literally, if Russell Wilson's licking his lips to throw deep on you, I think you got a problem. So Marshawn Lattimore should help the Commanders there, but I just don't think. I've said this before, like the Commanders are up and coming, but I think that they're frauds. I said that once they got to the better half of their schedule, it would start crashing down for them. But good move for them. I think they're pretenders, but right now they're like some people think they're contenders. Most of us logical people know that they're pretenders, but they'll make the playoffs barring anything like crazy happening as a wild card team. So that's good for the Washington and their new ownership. They finally get some football, playoff football. I haven't had that since Robert Griffin III lost his leg in that stadium. So not literally, but y'all know what I mean. I think good for them. Good for making the trade. I'm all for teams going all in, especially when you're like the Commanders. You didn't have hope, now you do. So good for them. Can't hate too much. So the best move of the trade deadline, Morgan.
Probably Marshawn Lattimore would be. I mean, who else would you say would be better than that?
I don't know. I think just if I want instant difference maker, Preston Smith, because I think that the rich get richer.
I mean, would you consider DeAndre Hopkins part of the trade deadline?
Yeah.
That would be a good one too.
Yeah, I think to take a little bit of a different approach because Hopkins and Lattimore are going to be instant difference makers. I think, as we saw yesterday, with the way the Chiefs lost a couple of their, not the Chiefs, the Steelers lost a couple of their depth on D line, that that Preston Smith's going to be a difference maker just because the Steelers have an aging defensive line that's very talented, but outside of T.J. Watt, there's not a lot of youth there. So like the more youth that they can, I mean, the Eagles kind of found this out, right? You just keep drafting enough skilled defensive linemen so that once you get older, it doesn't matter, right? Like look at the Eagles, right? Brandon Graham fitting to leave, and they're still they still got a bunch of defensive like youth. So I think that the Steelers taking the Howie Roseman model on the defensive line could really help them, especially because now that we're seeing it, right? They showed a graphic yesterday during the game that like they're 11 points better than they were against Justin Fields. I mean, people lie, but numbers don't. 11 points better. They're averaging more yards. Like this is no knock on Justin Fields. It's just the difference between a quarterback that's still developing and a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like, I think most people got confused because there was nothing in Denver, for real. Most people thought Russell lost a step, but Russell was just a symptom of the problem in Denver, as we're seeing, right? Because as talented as Bo Nix is, he can't overcome the fact that Sean Payton isn't him, and neither are the Broncos. So, like, there's nothing there. So,
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
when there's nothing there, a lot of people got confused. I think there are a lot of people in our industry and beyond that were overhyping Russell Wilson's death, right? So I just feel like we see what happens when you get in a system with a coach that believes in you, with some talent around you. I mean, if you're a George Pickens fantasy owner, like I said, you are really, really happy that you finally have somebody who can throw a deep ball or any type of pass to George Pickens. So I think that's the best move. DeAndre Hopkins and Marshawn Lattimore as well, but I'll take the Preston Smith move. What about you?
Yeah, I think D Hop probably, now that I'm thinking about it, is probably what I would say was the best one. Instant difference, and I think that's what they were looking for with him. Mm-hmm. I mean, 3 touchdowns his first game is
crazy.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So worst move of the trade deadline. Let's get some hot takes.
Ooh. I don't even know. I don't. It probably would be for a team that lost somebody, right?
Yeah, I think there were some people who traded offensive linemen. I feel like the Saints got worse because, like, I feel like the worst move for the Saints was letting Marshawn Lattimore go, because I don't think the Saints don't really have good defenders there, and their good defenders are all getting older. So when you have some youth, I feel like you need to like keep it around, especially when you're like the NFC South is the worst division in football. So like you still have a chance, right? So like that, addition by subtraction doesn't really work. So I think that was a bad move on the Saints end.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't really know what the Titans are doing. I think I said this when they traded A.J. Brown. I'm saying it now. Like, I don't really know what the Titans are doing because there's nothing there. And then they expect Will Levis to succeed in Tennessee with nothing around him. I just really have a hard time understanding what Tennessee is doing. It's a new GM, but it seems like it's the same issue. Like, Tennessee has all this talent on offense, and they don't know what to do with it. I would have rather them just traded Will Levis, because I feel like that was the worst. I also feel like the Panthers should have just traded Bryce, because it's not going to get any better for them. Same thing with the Colts. The Colts, if this wasn't a move, but like we won't get to this in any way. Shane Steichen is I don't know what he's doing. But I feel like Joe Flacco is showing why you don't have 40-year-old quarterbacks playing right now. Like, I know you don't want to.
Like, he knows what he's doing, but he has flashes of brilliance, but it's like he can't execute them. And that's got to be frustrating, Like, you were a good quarterback. You still conceptually know what you should be doing. Your body just physically can't execute it. And that's got to be so frustrating.
Yeah. And then like, so I feel like that's obviously not a move no one was traded there. Somebody got benched and Joe Flacco came in. Joe Flacco was still good. I live close to Delaware, and I would never insult the holy father that is Joe Flacco. but I'm just saying that Father Time is undefeated. Just saying. And the Colts need a quarterback. And when there was one available in Bryce, I don't understand why they didn't. Maybe the Panthers just wanted too much. I don't know. But
sorry, Mike is having a conniption right now.
Mike. He wants his 10 minutes of fame.
He's driving me crazy.
No worries. You got anything? You got anything to add before we get to the TNF from last week?
No, let's get to TNF.
All right. Bengals Ravens. What a game. I'll let you start here.
I mean, it's so I can't imagine being a Bengals fan right now. They did everything right. Jamar Chase went off. Joe Burrow looked so good, and they just can't finish, and they just can't beat the Ravens. And both teams just played phenomenal football, right? Just absolutely classic AFC rivalry game. Just awesome.
I expect you to say more.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know you're tired. So, I thought this was a good game. I thought the Bengals had it. If I'm going to be honest, like once Kyle Hamilton went down,
I did too.
With his ankle injury, I was like, oh, that's it. The Ravens just lost their main defensive superstar, defensive difference maker. Lamar's gonna have. Not that I didn't think Lamar would go God mode, but like I'm just like, there's just no way that they're gonna end up stopping Super Chase, right? So, but. We were wrong, and the Ravens defense did enough. They found what they needed to find. Hopefully, Kyle Hamilton isn't out for too long, especially as the Ravens enter the deeper end of their schedule. But I'm of the mindset that the Bengals. I've said it's falling apart, man. I don't want to, because we said all summer Dak Prescott would leave Dallas, and then he didn't leave Dallas, but now he's injured. He should have left Dallas. But I'm of the mindset that
they might bench him. Like that's.
Yeah, I feel like Jamar Chase is out. I feel like Joe Burrow should be going right with his receiver. Because once he leaves, I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, but aren't they out of franchise tags now of T. Higgins?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I know that they're like the world's cheapest ownership, and their owners are like so extraordinarily cheap that I don't think that helps keep anybody. And I think that they their practice facility sucks. Like there's just a ton of reasons why I think players wouldn't want to be on the Bengals.
Yeah, I just think that like if I am Joe Burrow, right? If you could not convince Jamar Chase to stay in Cincinnati, you need to go right out with him, right? I mean, obviously the contracts are a little bit different. Morgan can tell you I've been consistent on this. I say all the time, like if you are signing a big time wide receiver, you need to sign the quarterback at the same time. That way they're both together. There's no upset. You don't have the situation like you had in Dallas where you're paying the quarterback and the wide receiver, and now you got to pay Micah. Like you don't have all them issues. But Cincinnati is very cheap. I want to shout out, Dom Daniele. He called this. One of my former colleagues. He called this. He said that eventually, Jamar Chase would leave, and they would all. His prediction was, I don't know if this is true or not, but his prediction was they both would meet back up in Louisiana with the Saints. Now, will that actually happen? I don't know, but I have no idea. But Joe Burrow, I think, is locked in for at least another 5-6 years, right? Jamar Chase, he might be out, but I think that unless Joe Burrow is going to pull an NBA player move, he's kind of stuck in Cincinnati for the next couple of years. So, but I'm of the mindset here as far as this that the Ravens are just that good, man. It doesn't matter. Like Kyle Hamilton goes down, doesn't matter. They still have enough on defense. They probably don't want to figure out what life without Kyle Hamilton is like. But I just think the Ravens are them, man. Like I've said, like we are headed once again to Ravens Chiefs this year. Like the Bills might have something to say about it, but the Bills come this Sunday, outside of what's happening this upcoming Thursday with Eagles Commanders, the other best game this upcoming week is probably this Chiefs Bills game. But I'm of the mindset that Josh Allen never performs against Patrick Mahomes, and I just feel like some way, somehow, he's gonna let y'all down. So, so I'm of the mindset that the Chiefs will still be undefeated as of this upcoming week, and the Bills will have some soul searching to do, but we'll see. But that's where I'm at with this. I thought this was a phenomenal game.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining, classic Thursday night football game.
Yeah. Now, the one issue with the Ravens is Lakatron. I mean, what's wrong with him this year, man? I don't even have Justin Tucker on my fantasy team, but
I have him on mine.
I see he's missing field goals, and I'm like, what? Not Lakatron.
Yeah, I think his age may have finally caught up to him.
You think so?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the yips. I don't know what it is, but it's not good. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think when the only, and for Ravens fans, when the only thing that people the weakness that you have, other than not having Kyle Hamilton, when the other biggest thing is Justin Tucker isn't making kicks, I think you're all right.
I think you're on a good path to victory. Yeah.
But moving right along to my Eagles, man, flying high. The Philadelphia Eagles beat down the Cowboys and the Jaguars in the past 2 weeks. The hottest team in football right now, only giving up 10 points. Jalen Hurts is making history, the first quarterback to have 4 straight games of 100-plus passer rating. Ha to all you people who say he wasn't as good as he used to be. He even overcame a phantom ankle injury that I don't think Nick Sirianni was supposed to tell us about. but I am of the mindset that the Eagles are just – I said this. I think they're turning a corner. I said this post-bye week. I said, the sooner – I'm telling you, they watch this podcast, man. I told Nick Sirianni, the sooner you trust Kellen and Vic, the better it would get. And it's gotten a lot better. My only thing was him and his love for 2-point conversions when he's able to – get these dumb defensive linemen to jump. I hope I never see a 2-point conversion from the Philadelphia Eagles outside of when it's needed again. Because last week, Morgan knows because I was texting her. And it probably wasn't just me, but I know I was texting her like, why does he keep the freaking doing this 2-point conversion, man? It's against the Jaguars. It's not against the Georgia Bulldogs. What are you doing, bro? Like, just take the points. And I wasn't just saying that because I have Josh Elliott on my fantasy team. Take the points. And then it kind of came back to bite him last week, right? Because Jake Elliott was out of practice and missed a field goal. But I mean, we didn't even talk about this yet, but can we even talk again? This film won't play. But I mean, your boy Saquon, I mean, spinning into and jumping up into people with a I don't know what you would call that. I mean, we had the butt fumble. Is that the bump, the butt stiff arm? Like, I don't even know what you would call that. What do you call it that, Morgan? Like
a toe touch? I don't know. Apparently he got yelled at for doing it too. Did you hear that? They were like, never do that again.
I know. I could see it because I know the trainer staff was like, oh no. Everybody's like, yeah. The trainer staff's like, oh no.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I'll do whatever it takes to win, blah, 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 blah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know they yelled at him. I kind of think
they were like, never do. They were like, that was really cool, but never do that again.
Who was it? The training staff or Nick?
Probably both.
Oh man.
Maybe throw Dom in there too. Everyone's yelling at him.
Yeah. Like I see. I didn't have to. I'm gonna turn this over to Morgan in a minute, but I'm just gonna say, I called it.
I don't need to talk about the Eagles. You got it.
No, I just want to hear because I didn't have to cut a highlight on it. I'm sure you cut a lot of highlights on what happened last week. So yeah. I'll let you talk about that. But
yeah, I mean, they were super dominant. They are looking better. They're clicking right now all together at the right time. I wouldn't ring your hats on the Jaguars and the Cowboys being the teams that you beat. I would maybe. But again, like I said, there's a lot of really bad teams in the NFL this year. You play who you play, so good for them.
Play who's in front of you. You are what the Bill Parcells say. You are what your record says you are. So
we'll see. We'll see. I still don't have as much confidence in them as I do in some of these other NFC teams. But
who do you have more confidence in? The Lions?
Yeah.
We saw when it matters that they're not ready. That Dan Campbell. You want to talk about a coach that'll get you out of a game when it matters? Dan Campbell.
The Lions. I think the Bills.
Well, we just saw an NFC right now.
Oh yeah.
That's it, because you can't have no faith in the 49ers, how injured they are.
Christian McCaffrey looked really good yesterday, though.
Until that hamstring starts bothering him again.
Yeah.
Until look.
Yeah, the NFC is just so bad. I mean, they're definitely the best in the NFC East. Like, I would be shocked if they didn't win the division. I think that the Commanders are going to have a few more faulty steps along the path. But they look good. I hate to say it, but they look good.
Look, I'll say it, like, I don't think they're going to lose another game until they face the Ravens in a couple weeks. That's the next game.
What's their schedule?
Their schedule is like Commanders. It's soft. It's soft. It doesn't get harder again until.
But here's the thing: I don't think you can ever count out any NFC.
I'm not counting. I'm not counting out. Counting
because they play each other so much.
I'm not counting them out.
The Commanders, I feel like, normally beat the Eagles once a season.
The Commanders haven't beaten the Eagles in like 10 years.
Did they beat them last year?
No, they lost both of those games. Like, no, they haven't beaten the Eagles in like 10 years. Hold on while I look this up. But I think that that's the next loss. Like, all right, here's the schedule. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it, share it right now. But like, the Eagles, I think are gonna suffer another loss until, barring anything crazy that happens on Thursday night, they're not gonna suffer another loss. Like, here's the schedule, right? Like, Commanders. That's why I said after that, do they not play? Oh, they got 2 weeks off. After that, it's the Rams, Sunday Night Football, which may or may not get flexed depending on what the Rams' record looks like by then. Yeah, that's the next loss. Eagles, Ravens, maybe Steelers. If you're a Steelers fan, maybe
you guys have a pretty easy rest of your schedule.
Yeah, they don't go. That's what I'm saying. They don't go anywhere. Like, this is yesterday was the last true road game they had.
The Steelers are frisky.
Right. Look. I said they have about 1 or 2 more losses in them. Like, and if they're going to lose, it'll be to the Ravens, and maybe if they play around with the Steelers. But I'm just of the mindset that the defense looks great. They're finally getting pressure. Like, they have the best secondary. With all due respect to everybody else, they have the best young, like, them rookies, man. Quinyon Mitchell is a shutdown corner. Somebody I know you're familiar with from the Senior Bowl when you covered it. Quinyon Mitchell is a shutdown corner. I don't know how the NFL let them get Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in the same draft. I know you were texting me and saying the same thing, but a couple months ago. But I don't understand how that happened. So, like, this is the Eagles' schedule. Like I said, the only for sure, like, I shouldn't say for sure, because the way they're playing right now, that game against the Ravens could go into 2 overtimes. But I'm thinking the way that both of those teams are playing, like, I think the Eagles next loss, if there's not one sooner, might be against the Ravens. But I mean, if they don't have Kyle Hamilton, then I have a lot more confidence in the Eagles going up against that defense without Kyle Hamilton. So we'll see. But yeah, they got the Commanders this week. We will preview that game later. But yeah, the Eagles are looking good, only giving up 10 plus points. Like, no one's able to throw on them because the rookies are just that good. And other than some phantom, dumb defensive holding calls, there's not much that can stop the Eagles defense but them.
Yeah.
Moving right along to what you actually want to talk about. Your hometown team lost to the Steelers. I said off air, and I said to a lot of people, Morgan has heard me say this, holla at me when the Commanders start beating real teams. So, they had their first part of the PA challenge, and they lost it. They dominated throughout most of that game. Now, some of that was that I think the Steelers played with their food a little bit here. But, the Steelers and Commanders, great game, went wire to wire. But the Commanders never really separated from the Steelers. And, again, it takes a lot to beat Russell Wilson, the Super Bowl winning quarterback. For everybody who says that he's washed, he's not looking washed in Pittsburgh. Honestly, right now, whoever the GM of the Steelers is should just give him a 2-year extension right now, because this is the best quarterback outside of drafting one that the Steelers are going to have for the next couple of years. So they might as well just get it over with now, right? Sign them both. Keep Justin Fields, because I don't think there's a lot of Morgan can tell me if I'm wrong, because I know you might have better sourcing on this than I do, since you're around more football shows than me currently. But I'm of the mindset that nobody's lining up for Justin Fields outside of being a backup. So unless he wants to go to Carolina and be their starter, I think he's in the best.
Or come to the Giants and be our starter.
Yeah. I think this is the best place for him and Russell at the same time. I think Russell is on the way out. I don't think Father Time is undefeated, but I think that he's in a great situation with a team that's built around him, and I think that showed, because they even overcame an interception, which that interception with Russell Wilson was the equivalent of a punt. Y'all hear a lot of people say that, and I know some of y'all roll your eyes, because I used to too. But that was the equivalent of a punt. That was somebody making a play. The same thing happened with Trayvon Diggs, right? He made a play, beat Dallas, got into the spot, and got an interception, right? Same thing here. St. Juice made a play, beat Pickens. There might have been a little bit of a defensive hold or pass interference there, because there always is with St. Juice. That's what he does. He's one of the handiest quarterbacks in the league. I know Morgan won't disagree with that too, because she knows she's cut enough of his highlights to know that. So I'm of the mindset that the Steelers just won, and they let their talent beat the Commanders, because the Commanders are an up and coming team, but they're young and they're not there yet. And they don't, like I said, Marshawn Lattimore will do great, but he's not a difference maker on defense to make me think that if they get Lattimore on the field, that makes them more dominant than they are. Morgan?
Yeah. The Commanders just they didn't have that spark that they've had the last few games. I think Russell Wilson really hit his stride yesterday. I didn't watch a ton of this game, honestly. There was a lot going on, a lot of other games. I kind of was keeping an eye on it, but we were watching, some of the other games a little bit more closely. But I completely agree with what Kylan is saying. I think that for the near future, and I mean near, I don't know how long, I think Russell Wilson is their guy. I think you keep Justin Fields. I think that you try and train up Justin Fields to take over when Russell is gone. You let him soak up all of Russell Wilson's weird antics, and you see what Justin Fields can take from it, because I don't think that Justin Fields is a bad quarterback. I just think that he's been in some bad situations and hasn't really been able to develop as thoroughly as needed to play at a high level in the NFL. And I think that, anywhere that he is going to go and be a starter is not going to be an ideal situation for him to grow and actually learn as a quarterback. I think that this Pittsburgh is where he needs to be right now. As for Washington, I think that this is a really good year. And I think that this is a year to learn. I think they probably will make the playoffs. I think they'll probably lose in the first or second round as a wild card. I would like to put that out there. But I think that anything that they do this year is above an expectation that they had going into the year, which is good. I think that they have a few weak spots, and their team is really young, which is a good thing. So you fill some of those weak spots with trades or the draft over the summer, maybe get some vets in there into the locker room. And next year you come in full force, ready to be a contender.
I agree. My only thing, I totally agree with what Morgan just said. The only thing I'll add to that is, I think that Washington would do well to start looking, even though I have them on my fantasy team, to start looking. Now you'll probably have a top 20 spot this year, but to start looking at drafting another receiver, because I like Terry McLaurin, but I think Jaden Daniels deserves to have receivers that can grow with him.
Yep.
So I think it's now time to start getting that receiver, that running back, and that tight end of the future as well. As far as the Steelers, they kind of have all that. As long as T.J. Watt's there, they're good on defense. so
Yep.
so we don't need to. Well, we don't need to blow the Steelers defense any more than we already have. Great defense. No need to blow them anymore. But moving right along to the 49ers. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As Morgan alluded to earlier, Christian McCaffrey came back and had a relatively good game. As y'all see the dog trying to get his 15 minutes of fame. Mike is very animated today. But the 49ers.
And Dan's not home. It's just mom, and we just woke up, so he doesn't understand why he can't get all the attention.
49ers. The 49ers beat the Buccaneers. I mean, what a fall from grace for the Buccaneers. But I think it's your turn to go first here. So
yeah, I mean, the Bucs started out so hot this year, and then they kind of have just fallen. And what stings for them is these aren't crazy losses, right? They're losing by one scores, a field goal. It's seemingly these little things that are happening over and over and over again. And, I think it was going to be hard pressed for anybody to lose or to anybody to beat the 49ers today. Christian McCaffrey back. Purdy looked incredible. Purdy and Kittle were just on the same wavelength the whole game. They were just able to feed each other. And, I know Kylan does not think that the 49ers are a contender. I think you can never count them out. I think that as they continue to get healthier throughout the season, they're going to be a problem. If they're able to do like what they did yesterday and continue to get healthier, I think that they're gonna cause some issues for some teams.
Here's what I'll say about that. I obviously think the 49ers are like a good team. I just named them a few segments ago as like a top 2 team in the NFC. But they're just not healthy. They're not going to have Ayuk. Debo is aging. Like I don't think Debo Samuel without Ayuk and Greg Kittle. I always do that. George Kittle and the hampered Christian McCaffrey really scares you if you're an opposing defense, especially when you don't have anybody to blow it over the top without Ayuk. So I'm of the mindset that the 49ers are a good team. They're not healthy. I mean, the same thing. We've seen this the last few years, right? Whoever the Super Bowl loser is, we saw with the Eagles last year, right? You look good in stretches, but eventually them injuries from playing all that football catches up to you, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that there needs to be more of a break between when the NFL season starts and the ending of the Super Bowl. I don't think it should start 6 months later. I think that's not enough time for a body to heal. I think the NFL needs to look into that, because or they just need to not, whoever the Super Bowl loser, whoever the 2 Super Bowl teams are, just need to not have preseason. They should just be able to skip the preseason because it's just not a realistic timetable, right? Like, the NBA ends its season in June, right? Or late June, early July, right? Then unless there's an Olympics or a FIBA basketball tournament, which those NBA players don't play anyway, there's no discernible basketball again until October, right? Like they're playing street ball or whatever. Same thing in baseball, right? Unless there's an Olympics or a world championship in baseball, most of the MLB players, they're out. They're chilling till March or April. Like there needs to be a more realistic, and not for me to be a 49ers defender because Morgan knows I don't, but like I just think that it's just not realistic to have like you lose a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl. And I know that Chiefs fans are like, but we had the same time period and we're undefeated, but y'all are injured too. Like Patrick Mahomes doesn't look the same currently. I'm of the mindset that it just shouldn't be that you play football again 6 months later after a Super Bowl. Like, I don't know maybe it should just start in September. I know it starts in September anyway, maybe late September. Like, I'm just of the mindset that there shouldn't be football 6 months after a Super Bowl because you get stuff like this. The 49ers are decimated by injury. Now, it may have happened anyway. We don't know. But, like, I'm of the mindset that the 49ers are a good team. that are hampered by injury right now. I don't think they're going far in the playoffs this year. I think this will be the year where they probably don't make an NFC Championship game because I think they'll run into a Lions team that's pretty pissed and I can't wait to play them again in a meaningful football game. Or they'll run up against an Eagles team that they won't be able to beat because they're not healthy. Like I just think that like the 49ers basically have already given up home field advantage because they've lost 4 games. So it's over for them. They have to compete with the Cardinals now, a rejuvenated Cardinals team. Like I just think the 49ers are headed for a wild card spot. And I just think that their season will either end in Green Bay or in Detroit or in Philadelphia very, very soon. I think that's what 49ers fans have to look forward to. As far as the Bucs side of this, I think that while Baker Mayfield is a great quarterback, he's revitalized his career. I think that they're old, they're aging, and very, very soon there will be a lot of questions for Todd Bowles about why he keeps relying on aging quarterbacks.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that are a little bit, we thought would be hurt by. I sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. I thought we were going to the Lions game. I was going to
Okay.
do a wrong transition. Well, I mean, this game was just the epitome of a game. The Giants game was just epitome of a game that is played in Europe. The poor Europeans that had to come and watch this game in Germany. I'm so sorry. What a disgusting football game by both teams. And you know, I have to say, so the Giants got it back to overtime, which was incredible. And poor Tyron Tracy, the rookie running back for the Giants, fumbles on their first play of overtime. And you know, the poor kid is sitting there on the sidelines with his head in his towel, and I want to be like, dude, this is not your fault. This is a Panthers team that we should have beat well long ago. The Giants defense needs to learn how to stop the run. They could not stop Chuba Hubbard. And, you know, that was the epitome of the game. And, you know, Chuba Hubbard had like a career running game against them before the third quarter was even over. So the Giants need to figure something out. Their defense is incredible at rushing the passer, incredible at getting to the quarterback, sacks, all that, but they need to figure out how to stop the run.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset. I didn't see this game as I shared off air with Morgan earlier. I was in church, so I missed this game. So apparently, I missed a barn burner of a game. It was one of two overtime games this yesterday. Might have just been the only one. Maybe I'm misrepresenting. But I swore.
I don't remember if there was another overtime game, to be honest with you.
Okay, so no worries on that. But the one good thing for you, again, the Shedeur Sanders Travis Hunter sweepstakes is still open for y'all. So that's good. I told you before. I know nobody wants to, especially in the Northeast, nobody wants to lose. But I mean, Morgan alluded to it with Justin Fields. I've got a lot of Giants fans in my life. They want a quarterback. Like Danny Dimes is good, but he's not him. So I am of the mindset that this is great for y'all as far as the quarterback. Dylan Gabriel,
Yeah, he's fine. I still don't think that the issue is all him. I don't think if you put a different quarterback in there, it would have made a whole bunch of a difference. I think they have a lot of issues. And when one person goes out on your offensive line and the whole thing falls apart, that's an issue. You can't be relying on one person to save your whole offensive line. So it is what it is. Both teams suck. It was a terrible game. I don't wish watching it on anyone.
Okay. Well, I didn't get to see it, so I guess I don't have to bother with it then. Okay, got you. All right. So the Lions beat the Texans. I mean, speaking of teams, man, I was joking off air. I said, Morgan, like I turned that game off because I didn't think the Lions would come back. And, here we are, man. The Lions proving that they're not the front runners that we all thought they were. Beat up a Texans team that couldn't look hotter, right? Like, before I let Morgan go, I joked with her offline. Like, I kind of thought with the way that Tirico and them. Now, granted, like the Lions really the Lions offense didn't really give you hope that they could come back and score 26 unanswered, as Morgan told me off air. But like, they were blowing. Sometimes when you watch this stuff, you already know when stuff just happens way too much. Like when they start overhyping an offense that has been doing too well at a game, then the stuff happens. Same thing here. Like the Texas defense was doing too well, and then they fell off, predictably or unpredictably. I don't think anybody thought that the way the Lions offense was looking and the way Jared Goff was throwing that ball yesterday, that Jared Goff would throw would lead 26 unanswered points. But I'm of the mindset that the
I
Lions.
said that yesterday. I'm not sure if it may have not been 26 unanswered. I know that the Houston did not score in the second half, so maybe that was 12 unanswered points. But
okay, 12, whatever.
Yeah,
12.
yeah. They did not score in the second. The Houston was shut out in the second half.
Yeah, so the Lions. The one thing the Lions can do is make adjustments in the second half. So, I think the Lions are a team that is to be reckoned with. I think that they've answered the challenge every time they played a team that you think is a playoff contender. So,
yeah,
the Lions are a really good team. I have
they
nothing
look
to add.
great.
I mean,
it was a defensive game. There was so many turnovers. At one point, I think there was 6 interceptions that had happened. Jared Goff threw at least 4 or 5, maybe 6. Maybe 6 of them were him, and maybe there was 8, and CJ Stroud threw 2. A few of them weren't his fault. One was a Hail Mary. 2, I think, were tipped passes. So, not necessarily his fault, but still not great, and definitely not what you want to see if you are Detroit. But here's the thing. I always say sometimes it's better to win those hard games and win those struggles because you can, right? You're not expected to just go and blow everybody out. And then when you get into a tough situation, you can't handle it. The Lions have proven how freaking tough they are. And I think that comes from the players. I think that comes from Dan Campbell. I think that they are a gritty, really tough team. And I think that they came up against a Texans team who looks good, but is just still struggling in certain aspects to get the offensive kind of game flowing and clicking all together and keeping it consistent the entire game.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. I just think the Texans are finally getting healthy. Like we saw Tank Dell, he looks pretty good. But I think they need to get healthier. I think Texans are a good team. They just need to get healthy. But moving right along to our one Monday Night Football game today. I know a lot of you who are football fans. No, double headers every Monday night. No, but we have the Miami Dolphins versus the Rams. All right, so we have the Miami Dolphins versus the Rams. This is a battle of strong offenses. Like the Dolphins have a really good offense. And the Rams have a really good offense as well. Now that they have both Puka Nacua and oh my God, why am I struggling? And what's his name? And the other Cooper Kupp. There we go. Cooper Kupp is back as well. So like they have their receivers back. Obviously the Dolphins got Tua back. It's looking way better now offensively for the Dolphins. I think this game is going to be which offense makes a mistake or loses the ball, because I think you can't count out Matthew Stafford. So if you're a Dolphins fan, the Dolphins need to score at least 40 points to beat the Rams today. As far as what the Rams need to do, the Rams just need to do their best to keep the Dolphins' explosive offense off the field. Now, the Rams don't really have a vaunted defense like they used to have. It's not the one thing you could always count on with the Rams is that they had a defense. They don't really have that anymore. Now it's very much a team that relies more on their offense than their defense to win games. So as far as the Rams need to keep possession of the ball, dominate time of possession. I know people hate those kinds of games, but that's how the Commanders beat the Eagles a couple of years ago. Was they just controlled the ball, kept that offense off the field, and that's what the Rams need to do. I don't think you can really win a shootout when you have to face the Cheetah and Jalen Waddle on the other side. So I feel like whichever offense controls this game will win. Morgan is a little bit indisposed currently, so she'll be back. But I'm of the mindset that the Dolphins. This is a game that I think the Dolphins need more than the Rams. So I want to say that I'll probably pick the But having said all that, I think the Rams will win just because I don't think the Dolphins are going to be able to out execute the Rams. I think that Matthew Stafford still has a little bit of life left in him, and I think the Rams will win this game. Even though I just said they need to score 40, I think the Rams will win this game 43 40 no 44-41. I think both teams score 40. I think it's a shootout. I think the defenses aren't able to handle each other. And I think that the Rams will be able to do a little to have a little bit of life left in them and are able to take care of this more than the Dolphins, as much as I hate to say it. What's good, RC? How you doing, man? It's good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you here. Morgan will be back in a minute, I believe, but I'm gonna move. Oops, I'm gonna move this right along then as we uh, as we move right along to the other most intriguing game, and I'll let Morgan come back and talk about it. The Eagles versus the Commanders. Like I said earlier, a few seconds ago, this might be one of the most interesting games, or most intriguing games, I should say, this upcoming week of NFL of Week 11. I believe it's Week 11. I think this is a game that will decide home field advantage in the playoffs. Now, you hate saying that because the Eagles and the Commanders right now, along with the Lions, are like the top three teams in the NFC. So I think this will determine home field advantage either as the 1 seed or the 2 seed. More than likely, probably even the 3 seed. I think that these two games upcoming for the Eagles and the Commanders will determine who's the 2 seed, who's the 3 seed, or who's in the wild card. It'll definitely determine the NFC East. And I feel like the Eagles, with the way they're playing, they're dominant, right? They sack. They've only given up 10 points per game lately. On the offensive side, besides yesterday, Jalen Hurts has really been taking care of the ball. He finally found his throwing rhythm, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 3 touchdowns. Has had passer rating over 100. He's just really found his rhythm, and he looks better. So I'm just of the mindset that I think the Eagles will win this game. No, I know that's a shock for y'all. But like I tell people when I do this, I take the fan hat off and I just give you total analysis. I think Saquon Barkley will run it down the Commander's throat. I feel like Dallas Goedert, again, you saw it, man. I tried to tell y'all, like, the offense will look better once Dallas Goedert comes back. No, RC, they lost the first half of the PA swing to the Steelers. They're about to lose the second half to the Eagles on Thursday. But this is a rivalry game, so I think that the Eagles will struggle. This will be a back and forth game, kind of like what happened with the Steelers. But I think the Eagles win it on a Jake Elliott field goal. I think 36 30. I feel like a couple of last minute field goals.
That's a high scoring game.
Yeah, I don't know if Washington will be able to score 30, but I'm gonna take that. Mad Jaden Daniels will show up. I still think he takes a couple of sacks like he did against Pittsburgh. And I think that the Eagles don't let them get the big plays in. So I feel like it'll be a slow, methodical game for Washington. But I'm still going 36-30 Eagles. I'm gonna let you unless you want to talk about this Dolphins game right tonight.
No, I'm okay. I have really nothing to talk about with that. No, this okay. I actually agree with you. I think the Eagles are going to win. I think it's going to be a little bit closer and a little bit lower scoring. Okay. I'm going like 24-21 Eagles. I just I don't know. I the only thing that I can think of is, that the Eagles kind of beat themselves, which they haven't been doing recently. But I think that that's a way that they lose is if they kind of beat themselves and Washington capitalizes off of some big mistakes.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that, we don't know if Marshawn Lattimore is playing. We don't believe he is. So I just am of the mindset that Washington is a good team. Like I said, they are coming, but I just can't see them beating the Eagles this week. But I think they get back to their winning ways next week. Man. I told you it was a Cowboys fan, man. God, yes. The Eagles put it on y'all. Now, granted, y'all didn't have Dacky, but yeah, but they put it on you, man. Cooper Rush got some work to do. But at least you got the Thanksgiving game. I don't even know who the Cowboys are playing Thanksgiving, but hey, at least you'll still
Probably us. Probably the Giants. You're gonna lose.
I mean, I don't know. I know Shabusi is performing, so I know that. I don't know. I think that's the CBS game though. I think he's doing the Lions Bears game. But it's a little inside baseball there for you people that like to cowboy boogie, right? But moving right along to the most intriguing matchups of Week 11 in the NFL. And Morgan, you can go. I pull this up if you want.
I actually think the Thursday night game is going to be one of the better games, if that makes sense. I think the Giants play the Bucks. I think they're going to get absolutely hammered. The Bucks are freaking angry, and the Giants stink. So,
Can you see it? I know you say
something. It's just hard when half the teams are just so freaking bad this year that Packers Bears is always a fun game just because it's a rivalry game. Same with Ravens Steelers. I think that'll be a really good game, and it's a rivalry game. We'll kind of see what both teams are actually made of. And then obviously the Chiefs Bills, I think, is the best game of the week.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think the Eagles Commanders, Chiefs Bills are the top two games of this season of this upcoming week. Low key though, I didn't know the Seahawks were playing the 49ers. That's always a good game when those two get together, especially with how injured the 49ers are currently. The Seahawks might be able to get them. Oh, and then the Monday night game is the Battle of Texas. Okay. Dallas versus Houston. Ugh. Go Houston, I guess. Back-to-back primetime games for the Texans. Okay. But yeah, I think Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, Commanders are the two best games. And then after that, I think it's kind of deafening. I think the Jets will get there with second or third win of the season right there because they're facing Joe Flacco. It's the battle of the 40-plus-year-olds. Like you said, Packers, Bears, Vikings, Titans should be a good game. Bengals, Chargers. Yeah, I think this is it's a very top-heavy week for the NFL this week because I think that their two best games. One is on Thursday. One should be SNF, but it's not SNF. So
sure, that was a heavily protected game that they were not going to be giving up for.
What, the Chiefs Bills?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in Buffalo on a November afternoon.
Yep.
But yeah, so moving right along, another thing that we were wrong about, it rarely happens on this show, but Penn State, we did all that blowing and James Franklin and them let us down. Penn State falls to Ohio State University. My reaction to this is, I thought that this would be the year for James Franklin to finally get over that hump. Obviously, Penn State kind of shot themselves in the foot early in that game with the whole unsportsmanlike penalty. Can I just say, man, I hate the unsportsmanlike penalty in the NCAA. Like, let these kids show emotion. Why are you calling the flag because he made a big hit, stopped them on 3rd and 15, and he's letting them know, hey, you too small, you too this, you too that. Like, this is where I wish that these referees would grow a spine and a heart. You do not need to throw an unsportsmanlike for trash talk on a football field, bro. Like, unless you hear him saying something pretty racist, like, you should be leaving the unsportsmanlikes alone. Like, I hate the taunting call. Like, the thing I hate about the NCAA and college football as a whole currently is that it's very kind of reminiscent of early 2000s NFL football where they were trying to get rid of, like, the celebration, the African American vernacular. Like, they were trying to make the sport really, really white as far as the celebrations, and it just never worked. And I hate it. And I hate that they're doing that in college football where you can't tackle something. Like, the sport is majority black, and y'all are upset that somebody makes a big tackle and is shouting at them, and it calls right then and there. Like, Penn State goes from, what was at that point, 14-0 to Ohio State driving down the field because of a stupid referee who got in his feelings about I don't even. It wasn't even unsportsmanlike. It was taunting. Whatever it was stupid. The NCAA needs to legislate that out of sport because things like this happen. Like a team that had no business scoring should have been Penn State's ball. They go right down the field. Now that's football. You can argue that, it was a big game. Penn State should have had their emotions in check. But come on, man. Like, this is an Ohio State team that everybody and their mom is spanking right now, except for Penn State. So I am of the mindset that, it was a good game. Penn State just couldn't execute. I don't know what Drew Allis was doing, throwing to Tyler Warren when he was triple teamed. He should have just ran that ball in for a touchdown. Like Ohio State's defense is good. It's not as good as it looked against Penn State. They'll fall off again. It's kind of like you remember when Alabama had those off years where like it was literally like a zombie Alabama team that didn't get spanked until the playoffs. That's what's gonna happen to Ohio State this year. Like they're probably gonna end up facing Oregon again and getting spanked. So like I'm of the mindset that if Penn State sees them again, they will probably spank Ohio State. I think that Ohio State in that game was prompted up by bad refereeing, Penn State beating themselves. Stop me if you heard that before. A Pennsylvania football team beating themselves. I feel like that's what happened. Penn State got a little bit too emotional, and they let Ohio State get in their heads. I think they let that victory at Ohio State. Like they let the idea of beating counting the goose before they hatch or chickens before they hatch, like they let the idea of beating Ohio State cloud them before they actually did it. Morgan?
Yeah, it's you feel for Franklin because it's like he can do so many good things as a coach, but he just can't win the Big Ten games. He just I don't know what it is. He puts these amazing teams together and they go out there and they just can't beat them. It's tough to watch teams, like you said, beat themselves. It's tough to watch teams make silly mistakes that then in turn cost them the game and then in turn cost them the spot in the playoffs. Now, I still think that the Penn State will be fine getting into the playoffs. I think that the 12-team playoffs was built for a team like Penn State to still get in. But it's disheartening for sure. There's no way around it. They wanted that win so badly.
Yeah, I feel like again, like I said, they beat themselves. And like the Eagles, the Eagles. Wow, the state of Penn State will be fine. I think that their schedule is pretty soft. I think that they'll still, I think it's between them and Ohio State who will end up in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
Whoever loses first will not be in the Big Ten championship game. And
hey, you got Indiana too.
Yeah, you do have Indiana. Well, I feel like whenever they play Ohio State or Penn State, they'll lose. But like I do like Indiana. But I think that's your race right there. Oregon is going to end up playing either one of those three teams, Indiana, Penn State, or Ohio State, for the top two seeds in the playoff, probably. Mm-hmm. But moving right along to another team that may have counted its chickens before they hatched. Georgia falls to Ole Miss. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. Speaking of coaches that couldn't win the big one, Lane Kiffin had his Harbaugh moment. Finally got that monkey off his back. The first time that Georgia has lost in like 1,500 days to a team that was not named the Alabama Crimson Tide. I mean, Morgan, what's your reaction to this?
We've talked about this a lot this season in college football, is that I think players and coaches are forgetting that this is not the college football of yesteryear. There are really good players on all of these teams from the transfer portal and from NIL. And there's not a team that you can just not play your best game against, because especially if you're a team like Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, teams are gunning for you, right? So they are going to come out there and play their best game. And if you are not playing their best game, they can get by you. And we've seen it happen again and again and again this season, where these top ranked teams fall to these lower ranked teams or not ranked teams. And it's purely because, in my opinion, they just think of it as a cupcake game. They think of it as a blowover game. No big deal, no worries. And they don't prepare well enough, or they don't go out there with the right mindset, and then they fall behind and they're like, what the heck? And They're doing stuff that they haven't seen before, and they lose. And again, it's the mindset of you have to go in there every single Saturday and play to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think we saw this, right? Miami went down as well to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech beating another team in the ACC that they probably shouldn't have beat. But, I'm of the mindset that Georgia is just not. Here's what I'll say, right? As somebody who has seen quarterbacks in college football and then in the NFL and all walks of life that are turnover machines, Carson Beck is a turnover machine. I know that Kirby Smart has said, that's my guy. That's my guy. I'm going to keep him. Like, I'm not thinking about benching him. That's my guy. Y'all should see. When you're a coach and you're basically telling people, don't believe your lying eyes. I see him in practice. He's great. This man is about to cost you another championship, Kirby. Like, you worked so hard to make Georgia the football powerhouse that they are, right? And you got a transfer quarterback in Carson Beck who is not him. Like, you have a quarterback that is about to cost you another championship, bro. You were in the 12-team playoff for the first time ever. The Crimson Tide aren't really the Crimson Tide. There's no Nick Saban. You are the Nick Saban of this generation right now, Kirby. And right now, you've got a quarterback that is going to cost you a championship. Your defense isn't as good as they once were. Them dogs, the hit dogs are hollering, but it ain't the hit dogs that you want to be hollering, Kirby. Like, your dogs ain't hollering. They're running scared of a squirrel being on the field. Like, come on. Did you see that video? Did you watch the game? There was a squirrel. Like,
I was doing sideline.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Well, so during the game, right, a squirrel found its way into the stadium. And like it came to the Georgia sidelines. You just see all these like big burly young men just running out the way of these squirrels. Now, granted, I probably wouldn't have stayed this way either, but it's kind of funny. But Georgia has some work to do, and it starts at the top with their quarterback. I think Kirby Smart needs to tell Carson Beck that he has a very short leash in these next few games because Georgia has a very small margin of error, right? Like, we think it's really only going to be like 2 teams, maybe 3 teams, really. Really, it's only, especially if Indiana stays undefeated, there's no way that outside of Alabama and Georgia, any other team in the SEC is getting in over an undefeated Indiana if they stay undefeated. Oregon's going to be the number 1 seed, and Penn State team that has only lost to Ohio State and a 2-loss or 3-loss Ohio State team. Like, there's no way more than like 2 SEC teams get in. So I'm of the mindset that, that Georgia has a small margin for error, and that they don't want to be on the outside looking in again, and they don't want to be settling for the Peach Bowl. They need to bench Carson Beck very, very soon. Like, that's where I'm at with it. They need to bench Carson Beck. They need to find some offensive difference makers because they ain't got one. And they need to figure out.
What's interesting is that he went from being like a first or second round draft pick to he probably needs to stay in college at least another year, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So to that end, who's the best team in college football right now? I think it's Oregon. It has to be Oregon, right? Obviously, there's only 2 undefeated teams now. You've got Oregon and you've got Indiana, or as Morgan's calling them, JMU North. Like, I am on the mindset that the
Royal Dukes of Indiana.
Yeah, I think I think it has to be Oregon. Oregon's beaten Ohio State, the only team that they haven't beaten so far in the Big Ten, and I just think they're not playing each other this year, is Penn State. So I think that Oregon is the best team. I think it's Oregon. I think just by record, I have to say it's Indiana, whether I believe that or not. But I think the best team in college football right now is Oregon because Oregon just continues to look dominant. Doesn't matter who gets put in front of them, they dominate. So I think it's Oregon. You?
Yeah, I mean, Oregon is incredible right now. I don't, they've proven in every manner that they are the top team in college football. I don't think, I think it's the unanimous number 1 team for sure. but I don't know. I there's some really fun teams out there. Again, like Indiana, I think is really fun. I would really love to see them play. They seem to find sneaky, creative ways to win. Obviously, I don't think that Army is going to beat any of these big teams, but they're really fun and they are really doing things that we haven't seen them do in a while. I just think there's some unique teams that are running different kinds of offenses that we've seen in the past in college football. And it's fun. They're tactical and they're creative. And I think they're interesting to watch. So, yeah, I think that Oregon is the unanimous, probably number one. But there is a lot of fun teams, Oregon, Indiana, and Army being two that I'm really interested to see how they do in the college playoffs.
Okay. All right. So moving right along, wrapping this football segment up with most interesting matchups in college football. I can start here since Morgan started on the NFL one. So to me, I think it has to be one of them is, as some people say, my least. They think I'm the Deion Sanders hater, but Utah, Colorado, I think will be a good game. I expect that. Ooh, and it's 12 o'clock, so people will actually be able to stay up for this game. I think that Colorado is on a hot streak right now. But I think that it is when the whole country watches that Colorado falls out the fastest. So I think that they need to start fast. I still have no faith in their offensive line and defensive line, and I think Utah will be a good matchup with how fast and impactful their offense is. Now they don't really have their quarterback right now. I think their quarterback broke his leg or something happened with their main quarterback. But I think the Utah Colorado game, I think that'll be interesting. Um, Ohio State Northwestern is always interesting, but I think Ohio State has that one. Tulane Navy. There you go. There you go, Morgan. You just brought them up. I think I'm of the mindset that the most interesting game is Utah Colorado in this slate of games. But I'm remaining open. Oregon, Wisconsin, that'll be a blowout. Georgia, Tennessee. I mean, again, this is that game. I said Georgia has a small window for error. I think Georgia's gonna whoop the pants off Tennessee because I think an angry Georgia is bad for whoever their opponents are the next game. But Morgan, you got anything to add?
No.
All right, we're moving right along then to our college basketball segment.
UCONN.
All right, so college basketball opening week thoughts and observations.
Cooper Flag is unbelievable.
Yeah, Cooper Flag is unbelievable. Columbia apparently is better at basketball than we thought because they beat Villanova.
I mean, at what point is it time to let Kyle Neptune go? It's like, seriously.
I don't know. I'm not a Villanova alum, but I just think that I said I think he has one more year before they grow tired of him. But I don't think it's his fault. I just think it's hard to compete because Villanova made their bread and butter off of transfers and future NBA talents that stayed for 2 to 4 years. That's just not this crop of college basketball players. And I think they need to, I hate saying it, but I think they need a coach who can actually recruit Philly very well. The Philly, because this is a basketball haven down here. The Philly, Camden, I mean, Kentucky or now Arkansas has stocked their whole team with a bunch of people from Philly and Camden, New Jersey, because that's what Calipari could do. He recognized that that's where basketball is played very well at, Philly and Maryland. If you can recruit well from there, you're good. So I think that they need a team. They need a coach who can do that. I don't know if that's Kyle Neptune. I don't know. I don't know who that. Honestly, I don't know who that coach is right now who can recruit the Northeast well. I think that's a problem for a lot of coaches right now, right, in this NIL world. I think UConn struggled a little bit too. Syracuse struggled with Lemoyne. There are a lot of good teams that were struggling because they don't really have a they have, but they don't have a preseason, and they need to have a preseason in college basketball. I think they need to have more. I know they had exhibition games this year, but they need to have more of them because then you don't get results like this. Maybe even if they had a preseason, Columbia would still be Villanova, but Villanova isn't what they used to be. There's a lot of brands like that aren't what they used to be. Georgetown isn't what it used to be, right? UConn wasn't what it used to be until right now. Like there are a lot of teams like that right now. I think that in the first few weeks, for those of you that are not big college basketball fans, you're going to see shocking results because the first few weeks of college basketball, this is why it's better than football. Like it's built in that you're going to lose to somebody like early in the season. You might lose to a Colgate. You might lose to a Columbia. You might lose to a Harvard. Like, you are going, if you're a basketball powerhouse team, you're going to lose to somebody. That's why they have those early season tournaments and everything. But my first week thoughts is there's a lot of good talent in college basketball spread out because of NIL. And there are teams, you're really seeing the haves and the have-nots, especially in college basketball right now. Morgan?
Yeah, I think that a lot of teams don't have their they lost a lot of their like core. We lost a lot of our household college basketball names last year. A lot of them went to the draft. It was a big year for that. So I think a lot of teams are recuperating. There's a lot of young talent out there. So I think it's going to be a fun year. UConn, they look good. I think that Dan Hurley is trying out some different rotations, different people in, trying to figure out what he likes best. Trying to get the confidence up from these young players. But I think UConn's going to be very scary this year for other teams. I mean, Duke is for sure. Cooper Flagg looks like the real deal. But it's hard. These games right now they're playing such mismatched teams that it's hard to really see who is going to outshine the others. But it is just fun that college basketball is back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, expect the unexpected these first couple of weeks of college basketball. Moving right along to the shock of last weekend, Joel Embiid pushed, or if you're an Inquirer reporter, punched a reporter. A reporter. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, Joel Embiid got into it earlier last weekend last weekend with a reporter, a Syracuse alum, Marcus Hayes, who wrote a column, which is what reporters do, wrote a column, basically calling out Joel Embiid for lack of work ethic, saying he wasn't tough. He brought up his now deceased brother and his son. Two things that you don't do in football. In basketball. And I'm of the mindset that when I saw that column with that paragraph in it where he was talking about his dead brother Arthur and his son, who's also named Arthur after his dead brother. I knew he crossed the line when I saw it because Joel Embiid is very protective of his family, very private individual. And Joel Embiid, the one thing that is a red line for him is when you mention his family. So for those of you that don't know, Joel Embiid was on a road trip. I think he was in LA when his brother died a few years ago. They were going to meet up, but his brother died suddenly. And he's been very heartbroken about it because he's said, and you've heard people say that he loves basketball, but sometimes basketball is a blessing and a curse, and this is what he means. It was because of basketball he couldn't see his brother right away, and he thinks that if he saw his brother, he may have been able to prevent it from happening or whatever. But it's not a thing, right? Like, so I think that the NBA went a little too hard on Joel Embiid. I think it should have been 2 games, not 3 games. I think that Joe Dumars and the NBA gave Joel Embiid the extra game just because I think it was a little bit too egregious what he did. Now, I agree that he should have confronted him. I'm not promoting violence here. I don't think he should have pushed him at all. But, you mentioned somebody's child and dead family member, you expect to get what you get. And it's unfortunate that it got that far. I don't think the Sixers should have let Marcus Hayes in the building. And if they did, it should have been virtual, where all Joel Embiid could do was call him out personally. Now, for those that don't know, you don't cover Philadelphia sports. Joel Embiid had been, you might have seen the quotes where Joel Embiid said he did too effing much for the Sixers to be called out like this. This is what he was referencing, that column that I just brought up from Marcus Hayes and the Philadelphia Inquirer. I feel like the blame for this incident, obviously it falls on Joel Embiid and Marcus Hayes, but it also falls on the Sixers and the Inquirer, because I feel like the Inquirer's leadership editorial board, whoever edits these pieces, should have taken that paragraph out, and they basically admitted their mistake, because now if you look up that column, that paragraph about that mentions his dead brother and his son isn't in there anymore. And so I feel like that's where the blame lies. The Sixers should never have let him in the building. They should have told him, somebody should have told him, hey, Marcus, you shouldn't be in the building this week or for a while until Joel cools off. Just come to the press conferences virtually. Do what you got to do. Send somebody else. Now Marcus Hayes has been on this beat, been on the beat for a while. But I'm of the mindset that he shouldn't have put his hands on him, as I said, RC. But when you mention somebody's family members and they're public figures, like, all bets are off, right? So I'm not supporting what he did as far as pushing somebody at all. But you get what you get when you mention somebody's their family members, and you know how much they value family. So I'm of the mindset that that's where the blame lies. It lies on the Inquirer editorial board for letting that happen. It lies with the Sixers for letting him in the building, knowing he was in the building, knowing that Joel Embiid was looking for him and that he was pretty angry. That shouldn't have happened. And that's the crazy part of it, that this should not have happened. Marcus Hayes should have just been coming in via virtually, or sending a younger reporter to ask questions for him or something. He should not have been in the building, should not have been allowed in the building, because, again, stuff like this, Joel Embiid has been looking for that man for about 2 weeks now. So, like, I'm of the mindset that, and everybody who knew anything knew that. So I'm of the mindset that he should never have been let in the building. So it falls on the Sixers, it falls on the Inquirer, it obviously falls on both Marcus Hayes and Joel Embiid. So I'm of the mindset that Joel Embiid is a great player. I think a great person, but he didn't use fists, but he did say that the next time he mentioned his family member, he wouldn't be responsible for what he did, and he just would have to live with the consequences. That's what Joel Embiid told Marcus Hayes. So I'm of the mindset that he shouldn't have laid hands on him. He should have just embarrassed him. But again, my brother is not dead. I don't have a son. So, like, I'm not a public figure. Like Joel Embiid has said, anything with him as far as basketball is fair game. His family's off limits. So I think reporters should respect that. If you got to make a point about, it's kind of a moot point now, because we all saw him play with half a face and a bad knee. So I feel like it's a mute point to say that he's not tough. But if you're gonna say that, then say that. But you don't need to mention his family members. So I feel like that's where they went wrong here. And again, like I said, the Inquirer editorial board bears some blame here. The Sixers take a lot of blame here as well, because they let him in the building when they knew they should have just warned him, hey, come virtually, come on the phone. Do not be in the building. Do not let Joel Embiid hear you're in the same building as he is until he cools off. That's what should have happened here. It didn't happen, and there needs to be, some people need to take responsibility for that. Obviously, other than Joel Embiid and Marcus Hayes. So moving right along. Outside of that, this is injuries. This is just the injury report now. Paolo Banchero has a torn right oblique. He's out indefinitely. My reaction to this is a very much a shame for Orlando Magic and their fans. The Magic are an up-and-coming team, and this is a hard thing to do. There's a theme here, right? Injuries or suspensions that are happening a little too early. Like, again, Paolo Banchero is injured now, so the Magic now won't be where they were last year. Probably it won't be a top 5 team in the East, because he does so much for them. He's a really great player, and it's a shame that he's out indefinitely now. Now, for those of you that don't know, out indefinitely doesn't mean their season's over. It just means that there's no timetable for return, so they use the out indefinitely tag. I think some people get confused because it makes people think that if you're not a basketball fan, that out indefinitely means you're done for the season, when it doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that they're going to let the injury cool off, get some x-rays, and then figure it out. But I think this is bad for the Magic's chances of making the playoffs again. And I think that, it's a good thing that they have a really balanced team. But I think that, they need to be better. The NBA needs to be better about this, because these injuries are happening. These injuries are happening. Yeah, the Magic have definitely been underachieving this season as well. But the injuries happen when these players force themselves to play because they want to meet that 65-game threshold, and things happen. So, But this sucks for Paolo Banchero stuff sucks for the Magic and for their chances of making the playoffs. As RC said, they've been underachieving as well. Morgan, I don't know. Do you have anything to add on the Joel Embiid?
No.
3-game suspension's over, but
Yeah, no, I heard you. You hit it all.
Okay, cool. So Aaron Gordon, also, like I said, this is basically an NBA injury report. Aaron Gordon's had a bad calf. He's out multiple weeks now. Sucks for them, for the Nuggets fans, because the Nuggets have been one of the most up and down teams of this early NBA season. So much so that there were rumors that they would blow it up if it didn't work in these next couple of years. We're seeing this a lot in the NBA now. You're seeing less dynasties and more one-hit wonder teams because the talent is so spread out now in the NBA. But I am of the mindset, as Mike tries to get his Tony Vince of fame, I'm of the mindset that Aaron Gordon is a great player, a great role player, and Denver's going to suffer because of this, because they don't really have many backup plans around this. As the NBA players are dropping like flies. Again, this is what I said last year. When you have the 65-game rule, you're going to have a lot of players whose money depends on them getting achievements, forcing themselves to play, and then you have injuries, and then these teams are just out of luck because you don't really plan. You have a 12-team roster, 15-player roster. You're not really planning on, Aaron Gordon, outside of getting old, is going to miss months because he tears his calf. So, this is what happens. And you're right, RC. They are dropping like flies a lot. This is a shame for Denver. They don't really have a deep team. So there's really a lot on Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray. And without Aaron Gordon, they don't really have a toughness factor anymore or a hustle factor. So, it's just really falling apart for Denver. Having said all that, they still probably made the playoffs. They have Nikola Jokic. So, moving right along to the Sixers again. Tyrese Maxey hamstring strain last Friday. Had to exit the game early. He's out at least a week when he will be reevaluated. So another one, Tyrese Maxey, another up-and-coming star, just signed a 5-year extension. Bearing a lot without Joel Embiid and Paul George the last few weeks. Now he's injured, and it'll be out at least 2 weeks. Shame for the Sixers, but again, the Sixers have depth. They're like the one team on here with some depth, so they're all right for right now because they have Jared McCain, Syracuse alum, praising a Duke alum. Y'all should mark this down because it's probably not going to happen much. But, Jared McCain is really good, and I think that he has an opportunity to step up now in Tyrese Maxey's absence, might even get a starting role now. But Joel Embiid is incoming. Paul George is back now. So the Sixers should look a heck of a lot better now instead of being 2-8, 2-7, which is what they are right now. Moving right along, the Philadelphia Sixers beat the Hornets last night. It took them to overtime, but they did it. They completed the sweep last night. The Eagles won. The Sixers won. The Flyers are the Flyers. We don't really care about them. But the Sixers beat the Hornets. It took them to overtime. The Hornets are a lot tougher of a team than I thought. LaMelo Ball with that turnaround, Larry Bird-esque three-pointer really sent the game to overtime, but the Sixers were able to – they just wanted that game more. They out-executed the Hornets. Again, Jared McCain had his first 20-point game ever in his career, and I think he's going to be a huge X factor for the Sixers. I think they're going to win a lot of games because of him and Gorshon Yabusele, and this is why you take a deep team. You have a deep team. So moving right along to what all y'all really care about. The NBA in-season tournament starts tomorrow, and we have the big matchup, Philly versus New York.
What is my favorite time of the year? The in-season tournament.
Oh, you don't have to fake it for me. The Sixers against the Knicks, the game that we are all anticipating, might be an ECF preview. Might be something else, but the Sixers Knicks, it's always a good game when those two get back together. Obviously, this game doesn't count for any regular season stuff, more for the in-tournament standings. But I think the Sixers will win this game. I think Joel Embiid will want to prove a point to the Knicks. And I think that this is the Sixers' revenge game. Now the Sixers really get up for these revenge games. You saw it against the Hawks the last few years. People always wonder why the Sixers always lay it on for the Hawks. It's because of that playoff game a few years ago where they beat the Hawks. So I think this is going to be the same thing for the Knicks. The Knicks are struggling because, like I said, the power of friendship doesn't really stand the test of time when you have an 82-game season. And like Dante DiVincenzo, you've actually won a couple of championships and they're telling you to go to the bench. So the Knicks have been struggling. Mikal Bridges apparently has lost the ability to shoot. Having said all that, he'll probably find it tomorrow against the Sixers. But I'm of the mindset that the Sixers and the Knicks, this is going to be a real good game. I think the Sixers will win pretty handily. I think they'll win by 10 or 12 points. I think that Jalen Brunson and them will put on a show. I think Joel Embiid will want to have a good performance and want to make a statement. I think the Sixers are the deeper team. I think they're a little bit more together than the Knicks right now. The Knicks are a mess because it's just not gelling at the moment. They're not big. There's not really anything that the Knicks have right now that really scares you if you're an opponent. So I think the Sixers are catching the Knicks at a good time. They're starting the streak. I think you're going to see the Sixers look a lot better. They also play the Cavaliers the next day. So it behooves the Sixers to end the game pretty quickly or have the game end pretty quickly because they have to play the undefeated Cavaliers next. So on Wednesday. So I think it behooves them to end this game really quickly. So we'll see what happens, but I expect the Sixers to win this game at least by 10 points. Bless you. Morgan, you have anything to add?
Nope.
All right. So Greg Popovich had a serious health issue. Now, we do not know what that serious health issue was. I am assuming because of his age, it probably was with his heart. But I have no sourcing on that. But he is out indefinitely. He will not be coaching until that situation gets rectified. So one of his assistant coaches will be coaching Wimby and them. And my reaction to this is Greg Popovich is one of the great coaches of in basketball. He's one of the great activists in basketball. He always has an opinion. Most of the time, is on the right side of history. I think he's a really good coach, really good advocate. I think the NBA has a dream of people who can really talk well on issues, and he's one of the people who can. I think it's a shame that he's going. I'm not saying he's done, but he's going out like this. I think he needs to take care of himself. I know basketball is his first love, but you only get one life, Greg. So take care of yourself, get healthy, do what you need to do, and come back stronger. I don't know what it is. I assume it's something with his heart, but I could totally be wrong, and it could be cancer or something else. Again, they haven't really told us anything other than it's a serious health issue. Morgan?
Yeah, it's sad. Prayers for him, prayers for his family. And he'll be missed, I think, for sure.
Yeah. All right, so moving right along. Again, disclaimer here. Sometimes we are not a political show, but sometimes things happen and we need to talk about it. So we need to be y'all's voices for this. So the election of 2024, the results. Morgan, I'll let you go first since you're about to bring a child into this world.
Yeah.
You can start.
I don't think it would be a shock for me to say that I am disappointed in the results for sure. I'm very lucky to live in a state where my rights are protected, my child's rights are protected, and we have a really great education system and healthcare system. I feel for the people who are living in places where they aren't. I will continue to do what I can to fight to make sure that women have equal rights and protection over their own body anywhere in the country. I am disappointed, but not shocked with the results. We got a lot of work to do. And hopefully in 4 years, we can make some different changes, make some different decisions. I hope that things are not as bad as we think they might be. And if they are, I will send prayers and thoughts to those that are deeply affected.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I was not shocked either. I think that there's nothing that this country loves more than putting a woman down, especially a successful one. down, and I think that there was some things baked into the cake. I think racism and sexism are a heck of drugs. And I feel a lot of people will deny, as we are seeing currently that, oh no, it wasn't because she's black or something. I just didn't like her. And if you ever talk to people that say that, they never can really articulate why they don't like her. It's always something like she slept her way to the top. She slept her way to being vice president. Got it. She slept her way to being attorney general. Got it. Right now, she did date Montel Jordan and stuff a lot, but okay, whatever. Like y'all could never really articulate that. But I'm of the mindset that this country had a soul/reality check, and they chose the convicted felon over the prosecutor, and that is their right. That is your right to do that. Having said that, I live in a state with 2/3 of a Democrat majority, so I'll be good. In Pennsylvania, the rest of you will not. And all I can say to you is, I hope you get, if you voted for him, everything that you voted for. Like, because that's what you're about to get. I think that a lot of people are like, oh, he's gonna moderate. Why would he moderate with a Supreme Court that tells him he can do whatever the heck he wants? Like, why would he moderate when he had no plans, no nothing, didn't even really have a ground game, and y'all let him win, and y'all voted for him in all 7 swing states? Outside of the big cities, outside of the suburbs, he won everything. So like, I'm of the mindset that a lot of you are going to get everything you voted for. Like, we are seeing now that the top 3 things on Google currently is, what are tariffs? When did Joe Biden drop out? Second thing, what is Project 2025? A lot of you are stupidly misinformed, and you're about to get everything that you voted for. Like, if you are a federal employee, and I know some of you did vote for him, you're about to lose your job. Like, I'm not even being facetious here. Like, you are about to lose your jobs, because one of the stated things in Project 2025, you all should probably look this up, is the first thing that they're going to do is change Schedule F. And he's already previewing this, right? He's already saying we're going to get rid of the federal employees. Co-president Elon is also saying, hey, we're going to have temporary economic pain because we're going to get rid of all of these pencil pushers. He's not saying pencil pushers, but basically all of these federal employees. And if you are a federal employee and you were hired under Schedule F, you are about to lose your job. Like, I am telling you right now, we're already hearing about loyalty pledges. You religious folks, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, that work in the federal government, the one thing that we all have in common is, the one thing that you are not supposed to be doing out here is supposed to be reciting loyalty pledges over your God. So a lot of you are about to lose your job, because he's going to tell you it's either you're loyal to me or you're loyal to the country. And a lot of you are going to make that decision, and it's just going to be what it is. You are about to get everything you voted for. So I hope, if you're a federal employee and you voted the other way, I hope enjoy the paycheck while it lasts, brother and sister, because I don't know how else to tell you this. You're about to lose your job. Like, unless you are willing to sign a loyalty pledge that you are pledging an oath only to Donald Trump, then you're out of there. If you're a Muslim, he's already said, I'm banning Muslims and I'm putting them in camps, all of them. So, if you're a person who voted third party, and you voted because you just couldn't, your conscience just couldn't bear the lesser of two evils, I hope you like Trump Tower Gaza, because like Jared Kushner said, it would make very good beachfront property. Who was the first person to congratulate him when it became official that he was going to win? Bibi Netanyahu. So I hope you like seeing pain, because there's about to be a lot of pain going on that way. Unfortunately, all I can really send you is thoughts and prayers, because that's what you voted for, the Thoughts and Prayers administration. Environment. I hope you people that like climate change, that are advocates against climate change, don't plan on having any kids anytime soon, because you're about to get an administration that has already left the Paris Climate Accords, and they're going to leave it again. Europeans, I hope none of y'all have any Europeans in your family, because they're about to leave NATO, leave Ukraine out to dry. China's about to invade Taiwan, so it really doesn't matter what they do with the chips. There's about to not be any chips for y'all in a minute, because China's going to invade Taiwan, because you're about to have an America First president. A lot of y'all about to find out what America First really means in a minute. So I'm of the mindset that I'm apathetic about it. Morgan's a lot more hopeful than me. I think that the dude that says he's going to be a dictator day one is going to make it so there won't be an election in 2028. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope that there's an election in 2028. We'll see. I think that the weird dude that's vetoed this right now, or co-president, depending on how you look at it. I think that he's going to give it a shot in 2028, and we'll see how it goes. But again, only thing I can say to his supporters is I hope you get everything that you voted for, and it's going to be a lot of pain. So enjoy it while it lasts. Enjoy these next 3 months that we have of a sane administration. Do what you need to do. Get your prayers up. Go see your therapist. Oh, I forgot one. If you like the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, that's gone too. Especially if they get the House. Medicare and Social Security, gone. I'm of the mindset that it's about to get real terrible in this country real quick, and they're already talking. Elon's talking about how they want to take over the Fed. And for those of you that know your history, this has happened before in the 1970s, and y'all know what happened with that. It became another depression. So they want the Fed, they want everything. They're talking about they want to be able to pay the college debt off in Bitcoin. Only stupid people have Bitcoin. No offense to any of y'all or Morgan if y'all have Bitcoin. Only stupid people have Bitcoin. But anyway, they want to pay that off in Bitcoin. So we'll see how that one goes. But that's all I can say. I hope you get everything you voted for. And I hope that we survive these next 4 years of unbridled dysfunction that's coming.
All right.
Moving right along to something more positive. Shout out segment. Morgan, you got anybody you want to shout out?
Oof.
Your seniors.
Yeah, my seniors for senior night. That was a really special night for me. They were my first group of freshmen that turned seniors. So it was really sweet, really special. Yeah, it's been a tough week for sure. It's been not like the most fun week for me. So probably that was the best thing that happened. I've been feeling the baby move around a lot, so that's really cool. So shout out to her in there, getting more powerful every single day. We can't wait to meet her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'll shout out the shout out segment for me. I'm gonna shout out Kamala Harris. I'm gonna shout her out for taking the bullet. Running a campaign and putting a campaign together in 100+ days is a hard thing, especially when you don't expect to be running for president while you're doing it. So I'm gonna shout her out, for being the first Black female vice president in history of this country. They can never take that one away from her. And just trying to put a campaign together, trying to put a coalition together, doing enough and spending enough money that Democrats still won in every other election that mattered. So more local than not. Shouts out to that. Shouts out to all the people doing well in this education system. Shouts out to the basketball teams are starting very soon. Shouts out to the football teams as well as playoffs start in high school. I think very, very soon. Shouts out to them. Shouts out. We're getting closer and closer to Thanksgiving. So good luck with midterms and all that stuff that comes with being in school. Don't miss that in high school. Do not miss those before Thanksgiving midterms. But shouts out to all of y'all doing and bettering yourselves. So moving right along to he's not him, she's not her, and they aren't them. I'll start here. I think my they aren't them. My first one is going to be I have a day aren't them for my basketball team and for a paper of mine, the 76ers and the Philadelphia Inquirer. I previewed this before. I said that, obviously the main part of the blame falls on Joel Embiid and Marcus Hayes, but the other half of it falls under the Inquirer for printing that dumb piece, especially mentioning his dead brother and his child, who's named after the dead brother. Again, I say it all the time. You can make a lot of things about Joel Embiid. You want to make that Joel Embiid ain't tough article, whatever. You can do that, but you don't have to bring up the man's family at all. Like, even public figures have hearts. Like, you should not be mentioning his family at all, especially his dead brother. So my thing is to the Sixers and to the Inquirer, because they both should have done more here. Like, the Sixers knew that Joel Embiid was looking for him. Now, Did they know that he was going to push him or do anything and threaten them? Probably not. But I mean, it's not hard. Like, right? Like, Morgan and I were texting about this because she was like, "Man, who is he talking about?" I was like, "Marcus Hayes." Like, if I knew who he was talking about, right? If Morgan knew who he was talking about, like, and I don't interact with Joel Embiid on a daily basis. I know that there was team employees that saw that man in Camden every day these last few months and knew he was fuming. So why would you not send an email to the Inquirer saying, "Hey, do not," I mean, with all due uncertainty, do not let Marcus Hayes enter the Wells Fargo Center and or the practice facility in Camden, New Jersey anytime soon. If he wants to ask a question, do it virtually or have a younger reporter ask the question for him. And just don't tell Joel Embiid it's coming from him. Like, don't mention that man. Don't bring it up. Like, this is basic PR, right? The Inquirer knew this was going to happen, more than likely. So both the Sixers and the Inquirer knew this was coming, right? And they let the man go in the building anyway. Joel Embiid was in the building, and some kind of way, this incident happened, and it shouldn't have happened, right? The article should have never been printed with that paragraph in it. And they have admitted that mistake by deleting that paragraph from the article. If you look it up right now, that paragraph is not. I'm on the mindset that the Sixers and the Inquirer's editorial board are not them, because they could have done way more. They could have not let him in the building. And that's where I'm at with it. That's my they aren't them. I don't really have a he's not him or she's not her. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Morgan.
I've been kind of trying to think of this. I don't know. There hasn't been like an overwhelming amount of news that's come out that's not particularly political or anything. But I'll just do a they aren't them for I respect. I think that the beauty of living in America is that everybody is allowed to have their own opinions. We don't live in a dictatorship. We don't live in a place where you have to hide what you feel. And so I think that that's something that's really special. I think that making fun of people because they're upset that their candidate lost or that some of the measures on their ballot were not accepted is a low blow. And I think that if that's something that you're doing, your candidate probably won, and that's great for you. But let people grieve how they need to grieve. If that's posting on social media, if that's taking some time away from hanging out with people who voted differently than them, that's what they need to do right now. And I think anybody that's making fun of them for that is not good. And I think, you got to let people grieve how they grieve. And if somebody isn't speaking to you right now, maybe it's because they don't have anything to say right in this moment, and they eventually will, but they need some time to figure out what the right words are. So letting people grieve, letting people understand what they need is a big thing. And those of you that aren't letting people do that, I think you just need to take a minute to reevaluate how you're going about things. And I think that's it for this segment this week. Like we said, we will be back probably a week from Wednesday. Everything got a little wonky with the election, and then I had senior night. And so we'll be back. We'll have some more conclusive information on what teams are frauds, what teams aren't. College basketball will kind of have started playing some real games, and the in-season tournament for the NBA will have started. So all big, exciting things. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share our channel. Give us a follow on our social medias, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.